Welcome to Busted Speakers. I'm Kush,
And I'm Alex.
and today we're going to be reviewing "You Only Live Twice" by Freddie Gibbs. So Freddie Gibbs is a rapper from Gary, Indiana, and my only other exposure to him has been Pinata with his collab with Madlib, which I thought was actually really good, and I liked his rapping style, especially on that interesting production style by Madlib. This, I don't know. I felt something was missing throughout this entire album. How about you, Alex?
Well, you probably thought that the thing that was missing was like an exceptional producer like Madlib, probably. Personally, I didn't think that was a problem because this is the first time I've heard of Freddie Gibbs' project. For me to get a decent idea of what he's about. He's a rapper I always wanted to get into, but our album basically given me a good idea of everything he's about, and like on the cover, which is depicting him as like the resurrection of Christ or something. It does feel like he feels like this is a bit of a resurrection or a part two in his career.
Yeah, I'll give it that. Like it is a good attempt. The album's only 31 minutes long, so it's already a short album, and there are 2 to 3 filler tracks that I can pick out of here, which I thought were kind of forgettable. But for the most part, this album was pretty good. Like, just to start off, the first track, 20 Karat Jesus, that was probably my favorite song on there. He has the really crackly, high pitched, like almost prepubescent voice. And
Or chipmunk vocals, sort of, even though it's not quite that far.
it's not that high, but it is still. This first track, he has the higher voice, and it's just an absolute banger the whole time. There's a line that goes, "These hoes get in the wind, burn that ass quick like galaxy notes," that I thought was fucking hilarious. And the production is just really angelic and very light and airy, but he constantly talks about cocaine because he talks about him slinging cocaine back in the day, and that's how he got out the hood. And he has a lot of these songs that are based around him and his drug dealing past, which is really interesting to hear about someone talk about something so serious so openly.
Yeah, he talks about cocaine and his problems with that on, I think, every song on this album. And not just that, he talks about other problems he had, like raising his daughter. He doesn't want her to have the upbringing he had. And most recently, last year, he was actually in like some woman was accusing him of sexually assaulting her. I think even 2 women. And everyone was hating on him, thinking that he was the type of guy to do that, when actually it wasn't true, and he was acquitted of all charges. So that's what I'm saying when it's like a public eye. And I think he did a pretty good job of that here. Like, I think everyone likes him again. But man, he was living it rough, and I think specifically Crushed Glass, I think, and some other songs are really talking about problems he's had in the past. And
Yeah, he does talk about the rape allegations in Crushed Glass, where he says things like how he has trouble trusting people and how he doesn't need anyone but himself because he can't trust people anymore. There was one line that I really enjoyed on that Crushed Glass where he said, "Future started yesterday, every minute feeling different, I'm not the same. Donald Trump gonna chain us up and turn us back into slaves," which I thought was hilarious. He has some really good lyrics on here, but he also has just some songs that are kind of okay or not really as intuitive as some of the other songs here.
yeah, Crushed Glass is my favorite, basically for the reasons I said earlier, talking about past addiction to cocaine. I think he was addicted and slinging it at the same time, which is a toxic combination. Like, most people who were slinging weren't addicts, and most people who were addicts clearly were too fucked up to be slinging. So I'm not 100% sure. Yeah, that was probably my favorite. And did you get the feeling that a lot of these songs were kind of, they had commercial appeal, but obviously it's too explicit and too gritty and urbanized in the fact that it's about drug dealing and such to become hits? Like, did you think it had a bit of an accessible vibe to them, some tracks?
I think if you're a rap fan, this is easily accessible because it's nothing like too verbose, nothing too kind of
Yeah.
experimental. But I feel like if we're gonna talk about like radio singles, this is never gonna be on the radio because he's explicitly talking about
No.
slinging cocaine. I guess there were some songs like "Cut It" and whatnot, and like "Coco" by OT Genesis, where that had the drug
Well,
influence.
yeah.
But I think I don't think these will ever be on the radio. I just think it's not something as radio friendly as that song because like these songs aren't even that catchy. Like there's not much you can sing to or
That's
stuff
true.
like that. So
Well, he
despite all
doesn't even
that,
have any features on here, does he? No featured artists.
I think he has vocal samples but no features.
Yeah. That's pretty cool though. Whenever artists do that, because it's not that often anymore. It like harkens back to old school hip hop when you got a few featured artists, but it wasn't as common. Phone Lit, I didn't mind it, and that might have the most commercial appeal just because it's like a trashy trap R&B type thing. Sounds nice though.
Oh, I hated that song.
It's the most disliked song on here, but
It's such a
I like its
forgettable
sound.
song. It's just he just keeps saying "phone lit" over and over again, and there's no substance to it. This is what I mean by a filler track. This track is like 3 to 4 minutes long, and on a 30-minute album, it's 1/10 of the album is filler here, at least on this song. And it's kind of like you could have at least tried to make another song, like it would, or release it as an EP, which would have made more sense because it's so short, anyways.
That's true.
But I feel like
Some people were saying it was like a Future track, even though I love Future.
yeah,
Well,
I could see Future making that.
flurried. Yeah.
Another song that I really enjoyed on here was the very last one, "Homesick."
Yeah, that was nice.
I feel like throughout this album, he has a kind of a dichotomy of what he wants to be. Well, maybe not dichotomy, but he reminisces on his past of his like gangster lifestyle and kind of like how his criminal lifestyle in the past. But now going forward, he wants to be this more angelic, more wholesome person because like he's saying, I did these things and they made me the person I am now, but I don't want my daughter to have to do the same things to survive, so I want to provide her with what I can, which is really introspective and really meaningful. But I feel like he also glorifies the drug lifestyle and this like how much money he made and stuff like that. Despite him not wanting to be a part of that, he glorifies it to the point where like people feel like it's not as bad of a thing to do, which is hurting that cause where he wants his daughter to feel like she doesn't have to do those things to survive.
Well, yeah, it's quite a conflicting feeling because yeah, it's not it's a pretty destructive part of anyone's life if they've ever been involved in drug trafficking or whatever. And yeah, you can make a lot of money, but it is a harmful part of society. And I also took a different look on it. You know how he wanted to change his life.
Mm-hmm.
It was just everyone was so quick to label him as a rape allegations came out. Like not that many people were doubting him. Quite a few fans were, but it was like no one was surprised. And I think he wants to change his life. That he's not like it's not surprising that he'd get those. I think he wants to like change the image of him because I haven't heard Pinata, but I got the vibe that he was like quite hardcore.
Yeah,
It's
it's
came
much
across
more.
as that.
It's much more like something the game would have done, or something like, kind of like just a more like gritty criminal, just glorifying that aspect. But still, regardless, I still enjoyed this album for the most part. There were a couple of more forgettable songs like, Alexis was okay. I didn't really care much about it.
Amnesia, forgetting that one.
Oh, Amnesiac.
That was nice.
It was nice. I feel like this album has a problem because it's so short that every song feels kind of underdeveloped. Well, not every song, but quite a few songs feel a bit underdeveloped. Like they need a little bit more, maybe more production change-ups or lyrical tuning. But for the most part, this is a pretty good record, especially with it being a Freddie Gibbs album. It does have a lot of merit to it, and he does bring the old school Freddie Gibbs from Pinata back into this after taking that hiatus or so.
Yeah, well, I thought Alexis went quite hard. Rap-wise, he sounds really angry on that song, which I quite liked. But then he also sounds peaceful and spiritual on other songs, like the second half of 20 Carat Jesus. You know, he's talking about
Yeah. Okay, one more song that I was.
Furio and
Yeah.
he even changed the beat up, which isn't something people do within one song. Like I know the Heart Part 4, Kendrick Lamar changes the beat halfway through the song, and 20 Carat Jesus does it as well.
Yeah. One more
It's
song.
not that easy to do that.
Oh no, it's
Yeah,
very hard. You have to be a very dynamic rapper, which kind of shows his skill set. But one song
yeah.
which I just I couldn't get into was Dear Maria. I like the concept
Oh
of it,
dear.
talking about an honest ode to this girl named Maria and helping him through his tough times. But he was slurring so hard, I couldn't understand one thing he said on this in the song.
I did have to look up lyrics, but
I looked up lyrics and I still had trouble like finding out where I was in the song, because like he is packing so many syllables into one line, and it's kind of like a bit too much for the production. And then he's slurring the words, so it feels like it's fast and unintelligible at some points.
kind of reminded me, very weirdly, I must admit, but it kind of reminded me of Mastodon, how the catchy parts of this song were just when he's slowed down, because he's going so fast, so slurried, that the catchier parts are when he slows down and you can actually make out what he's saying. A bit like how Mastodon, they're so fast paced, but when they slow down, that's the catchy part. That's like a weird parallel I drew from some of the most hardcore of hip hop and metal. Maybe I'm talking complete rubbish, but that's what I got from it. And yeah, that's Dear Maria. I liked it. You know, he seems to be a song about an ex. Basically, except he doesn't sound as angry as you'd think he'd be about a song like this.
Yeah,
I don't know. But here's the thing: I like the atmosphere of all these songs. Maybe that's my flaw when it comes to hip hop these days, cloud rap or whatever. If it has a good atmosphere, that's almost enough to carry along. Well, I know a lot of people don't care that much about how good the atmosphere is. They care about the rapper and the beats, which is fair enough.
So what would you rate it, Alex?
First time hearing Freddie Gibbs. Good introduction. Good different styles he has. I don't know. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt because he really got me on board the Freddie Gibbs train. I'm going to give it 8. That's quite high, probably, but genuine enjoyment of this album, and it is an 8. It's just really solid. Maybe the beats could be better, and maybe I'd have more expectation if I'd heard Pinata, but he really made me like him on here, and some really good hardcore rapping the whole way through.
Yeah, so for me, this album was good for the most part. A lot of good songs, a lot of good lyrics, a lot of good lines. He just kind of went at it and you could tell he was getting back in the groove, something he was comfortable with. My problem is that it's a bit short, and given that it's short, there are 2 tracks out of like the 8 or so that I didn't like as much, which kind of is upsetting because that's a good chunk of the album at that point.
Yeah, a whole quarter.
And there's a couple portions where I felt like he was kind of like maybe trying too hard, or maybe he needed some more tweaking in the production or things. But overall, still a solid record. Lots of good aspects to it. I'm gonna give it a 6 out of 10.
Oh, that's still a good score. Basically, still
No,
like
yeah,
it.
it's still
Obviously.
a good score. I like it. It's just that there are a couple things that I would change and a couple songs that would boot. Well, if that's
Recommended from me anyway.
Yeah. Well, if that's it, then thanks for tuning to Busted Speakers. If you enjoy this video, make sure you like and subscribe. Something else in there too. Oh, check out some of our other videos and and check us out.
Man, Kush, come on, man.
And check us out on social media.